this government from the right in seats in urban northern England and similar, that you vote for a party getting 27% of the vote, i.e. Reform, not a minor party status in seats like this, yours, with 2%.
So I think we have to remember that that particular constituency was Labour's sixth most safest seat. You know, we were not
All right, so what you're about to watch is one of those moments in politics where the script completely falls apart, where a seasoned politician walks into an interview thinking they're in control and ends up exposing something far bigger than they intended. Because in this clip, Priti Patel finds herself under pressure on live television, and what starts as a routine defense of her party quickly turns into a masterclass in contradiction. We're talking about the recent by-election in Gorton and Denton, a result that clearly rattled parts of the political right. And instead of offering a consistent argument, what we get is a series of claims that just don't hold up under even basic scrutiny. And this is where it gets interesting, because the moment the conversation shifts toward how different communities vote and who gets to call that normal versus problematic, the double standards become impossible to ignore. What's acceptable when one group does it suddenly becomes suspicious when another does. And rather than clearing things up, Patel ends up digging deeper into a position that raises more questions than answers. This isn't just a political disagreement, it's a revealing glimpse into how narratives are shaped depending on who benefits from them. So watch closely, because this exchange says a lot more than it seems on the surface, and trust me, we'll break it all down properly afterward. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
Sign of weakness.
Briefly, in other news, domestic news, lots of Labour pain in the Gorton by-election, of course, but isn't the other lesson of that by-election that if you want to oppose this government from the right in seats in urban northern England and similar, that you vote for a party getting 27% of the vote, i.e. Reform, not a minor party status in seats like this, yours, with 2%?
So I think we have to remember that that particular constituency was Labour's sixth most safest seat. You know, we were not contenders in that by-election at all. The real issue about that by-election, the real story, is just the fact that people have lost faith in this government and in Keir Starmer. He's got no authority whatsoever.
No faith in you in their place.
I've made it quite clear to you that is not a Conservative seat where we were in contention. It is Labour's.
Do better in it.
It was Labour's sixth safest seat. So on that basis alone, it was clear that it was a battle for Labour and Labour's vote. And Labour is a party of the left, and people have chosen to abandon
and if you're on the right,
Party.
if you're on the right, which 27% of the people in that constituency are, they turn to Reform and not you.
Well, I don't know how you can describe Reform. I'm not here to be a commentator on Reform.
They're a party of the right, aren't they?
I'm telling you now. Well, they
got lots of your ex-colleagues in for a start.
Well, they voted with Labour on on various issues such as welfare and the two-child cap. So I don't think they can.
You don't think they're a party of the right?
They can't associate themselves with the Conservative Party.
No, they don't want to do that.
So look, the reality is that we were not in contention in that seat, and it was Labour's sixth most safest seat. So this is obviously a crisis in the Labour Party.
Your leader released a statement in the aftermath of that by-election where she described, quote, Labour created the monster of the Muslim community block vote. What does she mean by that?
Well, she was pointing out to the sectarian voting that is clearly now taking place.
Why is it sectarian?
But on the basis that it was very much targeted at particular. I mean, if you look at some of the tactics that the Green Party have used and all the rest of it, and the fact now that potentially the Electoral Commission are looking into the voting trends and patterns that took place in that constituency, Lewis, we should be concerned about that.
We should,
we live in a democracy, and that should be looked at. So I don't think we can overlook that issue whatsoever.
No, nor should we. But aren't, Dame Priti, those two quite distinct things? Obviously, if there's been any interference with the electoral process, completely illegal, wrong, needs to be looked at and stamped out.
To look at it, it's looking at one particular community and how they voted in that by-election.
But there's a difference between that, isn't there, and Muslim voters deciding reasonably en masse that there are certain parties that represent their interests, and they come to that view as individuals. Ethnic minority communities have always done that throughout democratic history. Why is it a problem when Muslims do it?
Well, primarily in this particular case, because it's specific to this particular by-election, I think we should just recognise that.
Camille Bayliss was talking about something that happened more historically than that. She's talking about Labour created the monster of the Muslim community block
because, of
vote.
course, they have recently, clearly been playing the Muslim community in terms of securing their own electoral base.
You mean targeting the Muslim community?
Their politics, when it comes, look at the politics in their own
party.
But
your party is, for example, targeting targeted British Indian voters in recent elections. Why is that any different?
No, that's a choice for them in terms of how they vote. We're not telling them how to vote.
But that's a choice for Muslims, they vote.
I think in this by-election it was very particular, and I think now that there are going to be potential investigations by the Electoral Commission.
This is a video that the 2019 election that your then colleague Shailesh Vara put out aimed specifically at British Indian voters.
इस देश को आज बचाना है कुछ करके हमें दिखाना है तो वोट करो बोरिस जॉनसन वोट करो बोरिस जॉनसन ब्रिटेन के पीएम बनेंगे बोरिस जॉनसन
Conservatives, British Indians. Is that sectarian?
That is part of an election campaign, a national election campaign that all political parties do.
That's what the Green Party were doing, targeting Muslim voters.
You could have shown the one for the Labour Party that they probably ran in that election, and other political parties as well.
I'm not saying it's improper, but your leader is saying there's something improper about targeting particular communities.
We should absolutely say in this instance, this could potentially be looked at by the Electoral Commission in terms of voting patterns within the Muslim community. That is something not to be dismissed or taken lightly.
I'm not
and I think on that basis, until we see further details, which are now being questioned, the Labour Party has clearly been targeting, and we saw that during the last general election against the Gazan independents, and we know that they're incredibly insecure now as a political party, and they have been targeting the Muslim vote through their own national policies, such as Palestine two-state solutions.
Different votes. Historically, the Jewish vote, Indian vote.
It has changed, Lewis. It has changed. You've seen that. You've seen that since the last general election, and the way the Labour Party in particular have been behaving around Gaza and their own voter base. And I think that was tantamount and paramount in this particular by-election.
One final thing.
Now here's where the whole argument completely unravels, because what we just witnessed isn't just inconsistency, it's outright contradiction dressed up as concern. Think about it. You've got figures on the Conservative side pointing fingers at parties like the Green Party of England and Wales, accusing them of somehow doing something improper simply for campaigning on issues that resonate with Muslim voters in Gorton and Denton. They're framing it like it's some kind of coordinated scheme, something that needs investigating, something suspicious. But hold on a second. When the Conservative Party runs targeted messaging towards specific communities, like British Indian voters, suddenly that's just normal campaigning. That's just connecting with voters. No outrage, no investigation, no dramatic language. So which is it? Because you can't have it both ways. You don't get to call it democracy when it benefits you, and call it a problem when it doesn't. And let's go even deeper than that. If you look at parties like Reform UK and the Conservatives more broadly, their entire strategy has always involved appealing to specific groups. Whether that's older voters, wealthier demographics, or property owners, that's politics. Every party does it. That's how representation works. So why is it suddenly controversial when another group of voters, in this case Muslim communities, engage in that exact same democratic behavior? And here's the part that really exposes the weakness of the argument. The numbers don't even back up the outrage. In Gorton and Denton, the majority of the electorate is actually white, around 57%. So the idea that a minority group somehow took over the outcome doesn't just sound exaggerated. It falls apart completely under basic scrutiny. Which leads to the obvious conclusion. This isn't about protecting democracy. It's about controlling the narrative when the result doesn't go your way. Because when voters choose a party that speaks to their concerns, when they feel heard, when they feel represented, that's not manipulation. That's the system working exactly as intended. And calling it something else doesn't make it true. Now I want to hear from you. What do you make of this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.